Welcome to Through a Glass Dimly, a podcast where I talk about the truth and the lies we believe. This podcast is sponsored by Sophie's Dream Incorporated, a nonprofit to help people heal from trauma and PTSD through the arts. If you find this podcast beneficial to you, please consider donating to www.sophiesdream.org. SOPHIESDREAM.org. Thank you for your generous tax-deductible donation and enjoy the podcast. Surviving the quarantine. There were 2 years in a row between Thanksgiving and New Year's where I didn't have any money for food. It was a very lonely time for me because I didn't have family or celebrations to attend. I had always been the host in so many years past. I'd invite family and people over who didn't have a family. It was a great time of sharing for me. And now here I was, alone, with no home, food, or money. I had to choose faith because choosing fear and despair was not an option for me. That would lead me down a dark road without hope. If I was to stay alive and survive this dark time, I had to choose to trust God. I had no other options. I think about the fact that I tried to live my life perfectly. I tried to be honest and generous and kind, sharing what I had and being grateful to God and giving Him the glory. I don't know what I did wrong. Being perfect or trying to be perfect led me here. I didn't understand, and I wouldn't for a while. I just needed to realize that I was out of solutions. I needed God to intervene. I had been practicing trusting God for the day. He doesn't ask us to trust Him for 6 months or 2 weeks or even a month. He asks us to trust Him just for the day. When I truly grasped this concept, it was so freeing. I no longer thought about yesterday or tomorrow. I just embraced the moment, living in the present. And it was wonderful because as the day unfolded, like unwrapping a present, it was filled with many blessings and miracles that I can't even explain. So here I was, pockets empty, everyone preoccupied with their own family celebrations between Thanksgiving and New Year's. I know that I can't trust man, but I can trust God, and I have countless times seen Him providing for me when I had nothing, providing in the most miraculous ways that I could never plan or imagine. So every morning during this time, I would wake up and say out loud, "Lord, thank you for meeting all of my needs over and above what I need. I trust you, Lord." And spectacular things happened every day. Many things. People were coming out of nowhere, handing me food and money. Friends calling me up, offering to take me to lunch. They were even showing up with plates of food and bags of groceries. Never during this time did I beg or even ask for help from people. I just asked for help from God on my knees, and He brought the people He had called by the Holy Spirit to help me. The entire time, my refrigerator in my little 14-foot camper was packed, overflowing. God had answered my prayers because I trusted Him. The battle is not to be fought in this physical world. It is to be fought in the spiritual world. It is to be fought on our knees. God is our protector and provider. He will do amazing things to provide the people that call on His name and trust Him for their provision. During times of tragedy and crisis, like we are experiencing now, cause many to become full of fear. They make their decisions based on their feelings. They are overcome by self-preservation, leaving no room for the care and welfare of others. You've seen these people who rush the stores, take more than their fair share, leaving others without any resources. They fill their garages with items, not thinking that they are taking away a chance for everyone to have what they need. This has happened since the beginning of time. Those people are going to get their just rewards. Their panic and selfishness is evidence that they lack faith that God is their provider. They've taken God's power in their own selfish and grubby hands. This hoarding situation brings back memories for me. When I was finally able to stay in a women's shelter, it had been 8.5 months since I was forced to escape my home. Although we were only allowed to stay 30 days, it was the safest I had felt in years during that time. Every week there would be a food delivery, and the women in the house were in charge of putting all the food away, putting things in cupboards and the refrigerator. I witnessed most of them just taking all, not some of their favorite foods, and just hiding it in their rooms. They didn't leave any for the rest of the women. They hoarded. They only thought of themselves. Although I had lost 50 pounds from hunger, I chose to do the right thing. I couldn't in good conscience do what they were doing. I care too much for other people. No matter what I have been given, I love sharing. If I had a plate of food, I would share it with others. When you help others, it is the best blessing you can experience. Hoarding even happened during biblical times. Desperate people do desperate things. When God provided through miracles, that wasn't enough for some people. The Israelites had just been freed from 400 years of slavery. God had shown them amazing miracles. They had been set free, survived the plagues in Egypt, even every firstborn being killed. They saw the Red Sea waters part, and they saw God destroy their enemy that was chasing after them. Yet, they were there in the desert, griping and complaining and cursing God. "If only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt," they moaned. "There we sat around pots filled with meat and ate all the bread we wanted. But now you have brought us into this wilderness to starve us all to death." Exodus 16:3. God provided manna from heaven and rained quail down every day. He even had water gushing from the rock. Yet the people had no faith. They didn't trust God for tomorrow, or next week, or next year, or until they reached the promised land, which would have been only 11 days if they didn't gripe and complain so much. They felt they had to hoard and store up for the future because they didn't believe God would come through. For the sake of being contemporary, I will change the word manna in this verse to toilet paper. "And Moses said to them, 'It is the toilet paper that the Lord has given you to use. These are the Lord's instructions. Each household should gather as much as it needs. Pick up 2 rolls for each person in your household.' So the people of Israel did as they were told. Some gathered a lot, some only a little. But when they measured it out, everyone just had enough. Those who gathered a lot had nothing left over, and those who gathered only a little had enough. Each family had just what they needed. Then Moses told them, 'Do not keep any of it until morning.' But some of them didn't listen and kept some of it until morning. But by then it was full of maggots and had a terrible smell. Moses was very angry with them." Exodus 16:15-20. As I was talking to someone who worked at Walmart recently, they said the people that are hoarding all the toilet paper and goods are the ones who claim to be Christians and come right after church service and mob the stores and take more than their fair share. The employees see the churchgoers as the selfish ones. The servers at the restaurant say that it is the ones who claim to be Christians, who go to the restaurant right after church service, who are demanding and won't tip the server. Do we want the broken world seeing Christians as the selfish, ungodly, fearful, hoarding ones? Does that sound like people trusting God for their provision? Does that sound like people who are living by faith instead of fear? Just because someone says they believe doesn't mean they are saved, because it says in the Bible, even the demons believe. Did you know the word believe in Hebrew means obey? It is belief in action. It says faith without works is dead. Why? Because your actions always tell the truth about what you really believe. You can say whatever you want, but the truth comes out by how you behave, especially during a crisis. What does the Lord say about panic and fear? Plenty. Did you know fear not is mentioned 365 times in the Bible? That's one time for every single day of the year. Isaiah 41:10 says, "Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand." Did you know fear and worry are a sign that you're putting more faith in the devil and his lies than God? Did you know that is a sin? Jesus was very clear about this. Then he got into the boat, and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a furious storm came up on the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us! We're going to drown!" He replied, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." Matthew 8:23 through 27. So think about that. Would you have a hard time sleeping in a furious storm on a boat? I mean, that is true faith. We either believe in the promises of God or we don't. We either fear death or we don't. So many people read the Bible and go to church and say they believe what it says, but their actions show just the opposite. Just because you believe something doesn't mean you live it. That's not faith. That's just knowledge. I could have all the knowledge in my head to know how to lose weight and get fit, but if I never live it out in action, it means nothing. Do you have what it takes to survive the storm? Who survives? The ones that keep their head, the ones that have faith to stay calm in the storm. I've seen some pretty amazing things. I've experienced what desperate people do in a panic. In their desperation, they sabotage their own lives and others by doing foolish things. They make their decisions based on their feelings rather than what is right and wrong. But feelings can't be trusted. Feelings change all the time. They are based on perspective, and sometimes our perspectives are not based on true facts. There have been many writings that say not to make life decisions while under stress. Why? It's because it is very difficult to make good decisions in a panic. The same part of the brain, the amygdala, that makes decisions is also the same part of the brain that houses your feelings and your memories. Nothing is ours. It is God's. You don't do what you feel. You do what's right. It oftentimes isn't easy, but I focused on praying and having faith God would provide for me, and He always did. Don't worry about the things you can't control. Take care of the things you can and trust the Lord with the rest. I can tell you from experience, after having lost everything, including my home and savings, that the Lord has always taken care of me in miraculous ways. Fast, pray, connect with others through phone, email, text, FaceTime. See this quarantine as a mandatory Passover time with family. Enjoy the Sabbath. Get creative. Desperation is the mother of invention. Ask yourself if what you are doing and posting on social media is productive or destructive. Refocus. All of those things you didn't have time for, now is the time. Take risks. Great ideas and inventions have been formed in times of struggle and isolation. The Apostle Paul would have not written most of the books of the New Testament if he wasn't in prison. He finally had time to sit down and write. He could have just complained the whole time and panicked that he was in jail. But instead, he used his time of isolation to get close to the Lord and write about hope. Martin Luther had to hide from the Catholic Church. During that time, he translated the Bible into German. I've been through a lot, but I've been able to see all the blessings that have come from it. I'm a better person and I'm stronger. I'm able to stay calm in the storm because I know God always took care of me through amazing miracles. It's time to unplug. Turn off the TV and the computer and start being creative with your children. Paint, draw, build, cook, go out in nature. Stop watching things that make you upset. It actually affects your health in a very negative way. God always provided everything I needed, and He will provide everything you need as well. We are only to trust God for the day, like the manna from heaven. Every day He rains down more blessings to get us through the next day. Live one day at a time, having faith for the day that God will see you through anything. Live in the present, and you will see a day full of miracles every single day. I'm going to post 2 episodes right after this. I will be narrating 2 different stories. One is about someone who chooses panic and fear and the consequences that ensued. And the other story is about someone who focused on using what they had to create community and closeness and kindness to those around them. The stories are appropriate for children to listen to. I hope you will enjoy listening to them as much as I have been telling them. Stay safe, be prepared, and focus on God's promises. Blessings to all of you, and thanks for listening. Until next time. Copyright 2020. All rights reserved. Reproduction of any portion prohibited except by permission. Contact feedback at throughaglassdimly.com and make sure you like us on Facebook. Thank you.